Jack Murray, welcome to Empower Network TV. Very excited you're here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to be here as well. I've seen a bunch of episodes, so it's pretty exciting for me to be here on the other side of it now.
Yeah. Well, you're living quite an adventurous life. So let's get into that first of all, and then we'll go into like your story of how you got there. But why don't you tell the folks, number one, how old are you? And number two, what are you doing and where are you doing it in the world?
Okay, so my name is Jack Murray. I'm a 15-year-old elite level athlete. I play soccer. I'm originally from Canada, Nova Scotia, but now I play in the Portuguese First Division. And I'm also a motivational mindset and peak performance coach slash mentor for other teen athletes. So yeah,
That's super cool, man. So
super cool.
so we grew up on opposite ends of Canada, and now you're over in Portugal living the dream that a lot of soccer athletes wish they could live. So how did you start soccer at young? Was your dad always on you? Did you just jump in? How did you get to this level?
So from a young age, it's kind of funny because my parents forever, they're originally from Toronto, Ontario. They are huge hockey fans, but then I came along and then I love soccer and now we all love soccer. But even from being really young, we always watched the World Cup and I kind of fell in love with Spain's golden generation. Xavi, Busquets, and Iniesta. Those are the players that I idolized and I pretended to be when I was playing. And from a really young age, my dad actually also volunteered when I was like 4 years old. We played summer soccer and he was the coach. And for me being really shy when I was young, that was magnificent for me. Magnificent. So I started young. He was my coach. But something that he definitely taught me from really early age, it's definitely helped me is using both feet. So now it's only most of my teammates here in Portugal do not know what foot I am, and they often think that my left foot is my strong foot, but it's actually my right. So, yeah,
There's a metaphor on that, using both feet, because it leaves people guessing when you're ambidextrous and know how to do multiple things and no one can kind of pigeonhole you. So what is your favorite part of soccer? I got to ask you.
you don't know. I love when I love that. I find the tactics really interesting. So I love when my coaches will tell me about tactics and we're learning about something. I find it really interesting, and then putting it into the game. And I love playing like tiki taka, like a tiki kind of South American football style, because my academy in Canada, the director of the academy was from Chile, so we grew up playing like that. When I was a bit older, we grew up playing that tiki taka, like Barcelona and South American style. So I love to play that and thing. Does that answer your question? Kind of. There are
Yeah,
so many,
yeah.
kind of hard to narrow it down.
Well, high level soccer is like chess. It's like extremely strategic. It's not just kick a ball. It's
And sometimes when you're first watching it, like for a lot of casual fans, you don't think it's that strategic. But the players, the way they press, like there are all these different methods of pressing, the way you shift, the way you defend. There are all these different kind of all these different kind of methods. And I think it would be a really fun job to be a coach, because like you can play with that and you can do all these little things and try things out in the game.
amazing. Okay, so let's get into your coaching. So
Yeah.
when did you start coaching, and who are you coaching? Are you coaching athletes that are coming up underneath you, athletes that are cross sport? What are you doing?
So this kind of happened naturally, because even on my teams, I was always known as like the motivator or the encourager. I was very vocal on the field, and I would always be the one motivating them. Motivating my team if we went down a goal to there's only one goal. Like a lot of things, I did that, and that kind of just transitioned naturally to when I realized, after interviewing so many professional soccer players, because I also do that with my dad. I have a show. Um, and for myself, I realized that mindset was really, really important. And that was something that was helping me perform really, really well, versus some of the other players that are extremely talented, but could not use their mind in the same way. Right. So that kind of happened naturally. And then it kind of progressed. When I first came to Portugal, I thought, you know what if I actually helped other teen athletes get that? So I've been mentoring teen athletes, and typically it is teen athletes that are soccer players, but I've also worked with some teens that do other sports and a couple completely outside of sports. Like I've helped teens with limiting beliefs, public speaking, and things like that.
I'm just shocked that someone at 15 is doing this. The average 15-year-old does not do this. Does it? Your parents, what do your parents think of you? Because you're coaching the people you're like, what do they think of you?
Well, they love it because they're both entrepreneurs. They've been entrepreneurs since they've been 20. So they really work for themselves from a young age. And I think that's where I get the entrepreneurial gene from. And they love what I'm doing. So it's great. We're all like an entrepreneur family. So it's fun.
Amazing. So, okay, so can we talk about what's on the horizon for you then? Because you're playing, sorry, tier one or division one? Tier one. It's called tier one.
Uh, yeah, Division One.
Oh, it is
Division.
division one.
Yeah.
Okay. What's on the horizon then this next year or two for you? Because we're talking about mindset. What is your mindset focused on?
Yeah. My mindset is always focused on, there's a quote that I love: fall in love with endless and constant self-improvement. And I don't just attribute that to my mindset. I also attribute it to my soccer and everything in life. So definitely always wanting to get better and things like that. Right now I'm in the off season, so I'm working on getting in the first division of the year older than me. So that's what I'm working on right now. I'm very excited because I do have an invite to do that. So it should be really, really fun. But that's what I'm working on right now, expanding, becoming the best soccer player that I can be. And I'm also doing a beta test right now of my coaching program, the 2.0 version of it.
Amazing. We got to talk about your show. So you skipped over, you and your dad have a show. So what is your show called? And you guys are interviewing who?
Yeah. So our show is called CPL Fever. We started it in 2020 when COVID was raging the world and all these soccer players were locked in their home with nothing to do. So in the first year of the inaugural season of the Canadian Premier League, Canada's professional soccer league, only started in 2019. I was a ball boy for the team that was in my area. So from that, I actually got to know some of the players and became friends with them on Instagram. And then in 2020, my dad and I thought, what if we interviewed some of these professional soccer players? So I reached out to a couple that I was friends with. And then to my delight, they pretty much all of them said, yes, we'll do it. We'll come on. So it kind of just started like that. And now we've interviewed we're now close to 50 interviews, and season 2 is on the horizon, and we're revving up to do that with a new format. So that is also very exciting for us.
That's amazing. And young man, you are well spoken. If no one, I'm sure people have told you this before, but you're well spoken.
Thank you.
Okay, so what words of wisdom you got for us? Because whether someone is 78 years old on this show or they're 15 years old, it's not about that. It's about what can you tell people that maybe are struggling and maybe they're a little down, or they've not achieved what they want to achieve yet. Jack, what would you tell them?
Something that has been crucial for me in my life, and something that I work with a lot of teen athletes about, is comebacks, bouncing back. Because really life is not linear. The road of life is sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's rainy, sometimes it's really rocky, sometimes it's windy, sometimes it's steep. There's all these things that can happen on the road of life. So knowing, and inevitably, there is going to be a time where unfortunately you tumble and you fall. It's just inevitable. So knowing how to respond quickly to that and become stronger than you were is really, really important for me. So something that I like to do is I have a snapback routine, where if something happens, I have a routine in place. So as soon as I fall, I can get right back up. Think of it like a yo-yo. Most people, when they or I think a lot of people, and this is very easy and very normal to do, when you get knocked down, you stay there for a little while because it is hard to get back up. And I believe in allowing your emotions to be there. So obviously I'm not going to go, but I believe in like a yo-yo, because if you have a snapback routine, you can go down and then a couple of seconds, and then you come right back up again, right? So I believe in perspective and all of that. Sorry, I know I'm talking a lot here, like I'm rambling a little bit.
No, you're supposed to talk. I'm supposed to listen. And please tell us more of this snapback routine. I love it.
Okay. So one exercise that I like to do in my snapback routine is something that I call the glasses analogy. So nobody sees the world as it is. Everyone sees the world the way they are. It's because we have biases, we have beliefs. There's no just true one way to look at it. We all have slightly different lenses and tints the way we see the world, right? So something that I believe is but you can also change that perspective. So I like to pretend you're putting on different glasses. Each of them shows you a different perspective. And then when you find the perspective that's going to help you skyrocket and like the yo-yo go back up, you focus in on that. And there's a story called the White Stallion story, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm just going to say it quickly. So this farmer, have you heard the story? It's about this farmer and his pony or his horse runs away. And then that night, all the villagers come to the farmer and say, oh, we're so sorry to hear that your horse has run away. So unfortunate. And the farmer says, maybe. Then the next day, that horse comes back with 7 other wild horses. So now the farmer has 8 horses. And then again, the villagers come and they say, oh, that's so amazing. You're so lucky. You should be so happy. And the farmer said, maybe. And then the next day, the farmer's son goes and tries to tame one of the wild horses, but he falls off and breaks his leg. And then the villagers, again, they come back and say, oh, we're so sorry to hear about your son. And the farmer just says, maybe again. And what happens the next day is that the army comes to enlist people to go to war. And his son can't go because his leg is broken. So, and then all the villagers say, oh, you're so lucky. Congratulations. And the farmer just says, maybe. And this is showing you that you don't truly know if a thing you think is good is going to be good, and a thing you think is bad is going to be bad. Like,
so good. So good. Sorry, keep going. I'm just saying it's so good.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it. But yeah, like coming to Portugal, it was on the back of a no. And now that I actually have a spot in the 2007, the year older than me, first division, that also came on the back of a no. So you honestly, I've grown accustomed to not thinking things that are bad or immediately bad. I look for the hidden gift. I know I talked for a long time, but I wanted to try and explain that.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. You're supposed to talk. Can you talk about on the back of a no? Because some people, can you break that down for us? What does that mean?
So a quick thing that happened to me recently was in Portugal, coaches get fired really quickly. This season, last season and the beginning of this preseason, I've had 4 coaches. In Canada, I had the same coach from 4 to 13. So that's a bit of a shock for me, right? But the first coach loved me, absolutely loved me. He played me in a new position and he absolutely loved me. I was a starting left back on the team. And then the team wasn't doing too well. So that coach leaves before he gets fired. Then the second coach comes in. We're going to name them because it's really confusing if I don't name them. Coach Marcio comes in. Coach Marcio is the second coach. And he really likes me, but he puts me in the middle. He doesn't like me at left back. So for the first couple of games, he's kind of unsure about me. And then I tell him that my actual position is midfielder, but the last coach liked me at left back. And then he tried me in the middle, and then he really, really liked me there. So he just came to finish out the end of the season. So a couple of games. So I was a starting midfielder for the end of the season. And then another coach comes from, then that second coach, Coach Marcio, leaves because he was just coming to finish the season. Then this third coach, Coach Fabio, he comes in and he was the coach of an opposition team. So I played against them during the season and I was playing left back, and he told me he really liked me at left back. So he wanted to put me back at left back. So we started the season, and at the same time, I'm not sure if I want to sign because I'm not sure what position I want to play yet, because I'm not sure which one fits in my strengths, because I've had so many different coaches tell me different positions I'm really good at, because I'm a very versatile player. And that's partly because I know a lot about the tactics of different positions. So then eventually I decide to go and sign. And when you sign for the whole year. You cannot get out. So you have to sign, and there's a big penalty if you try and get out. So you have to sign. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to sign for this third coach, Coach Fabio. I like him. So I go. And then when I get there, I'm about to put in my signature, and the coordinator of the club, who's really, really nice, I'm very grateful that he told me this. He told me, Jack, he told me this in Portuguese. So it's like doubly like, what? He told me, Jack, your coach has left. So now this is 3 coaches. And I'm tired of coaches leaving because I've formed connections with my coaches. So I don't like that. And then this fourth coach comes in and he sees me for like one practice, 20 minutes. He splits the group up randomly into two groups, and he only sees me for the last 20 minutes when we do a big game. And he tells me that he doesn't want me at the club, and I haven't signed yet. So he told a bunch of players to go to the coordinator to get their dismissal papers, me and a bunch of the guys that were on the team before. And he had also brought like 8 or 9 players from his past team. So that's part of it. And then the coordinator goes and gives everyone their dismissal papers. And then he says, Jack, what are you doing here? And I say, I need my dismissal papers because the coach doesn't want me. And he says, wait. And then he brings me into the boardroom, which I was in a couple months ago, where this club had told me I was their top priority. And he tells me, listen, the coach doesn't want you, but the actual club, the club wants you. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over the coach's head and try to sign you anyways. And I don't think that's a great idea to sign for a club with a coach that doesn't want you. So I actually got the opportunity to play with the older team in the first division, the older first division team, the year older. So I've actually made that team. So I would not have gotten that opportunity if that coach didn't leave or this fourth coach didn't like me. So does that explain your question? I know I talked a lot.
Yeah, it does. And on the back of a no coming, so don't assume judging something as just because it's a no doesn't mean it's a never, doesn't mean it's a, that's so cool. Wow, what a story.
I know, it's a really, I hope I explained it well, because it's such a long and complicated story. At least I think. So I try to give them names. I've told like my friends about this, and I've gotten better at telling the story now because I've told it a couple of times to my friends. But it's really a really cool way to think about it, because I would not have gotten this opportunity to play on the older team in the first division without that coach not wanting me. So a hidden gift, a blessing in disguise, whatever you want to call it. But things that you think are bad can be very, very, very good for you. Because now I have this opportunity to train every single training with older players in a higher division. So it's great.
Jack, I'm just impressed. I'm just so glad to hear you are coaching other athletes and doing these things, because your communication, your mindset, you're inspiring, and you're just full of life. So I'm sure your parents are thrilled to have a son like you that's making the decisions you're making. And obviously they played their part, but you're making your own choices. And what a gift, what an honor to have you here today. Can you, after we're done the interview, can you drop your links? So like your show, you and your dad's show, do you have a Facebook group? Do you?
I don't have a Facebook group. I have a Facebook like profile, like page, so I can drop that.
Yeah, I'll tag you. Are you? Yeah, make sure you drop that. If you're in the group, I'll be tagging you in this. I'm assuming you're in the group. And anything else? You got a book coming out? You must have a book coming out.
Actually, I do. I'm working on writing 2 and another kind of also project. But just quickly, the book is going to be about the 4 pillars of a complete athlete. So the 4 things that I believe every elite level athlete needs to thrive. So it's going to be about that. And then I love reading fantasy fiction. So I'm also kind of writing a book about fantasy fiction, totally unrelated but I find it a nice way to decompress and also just be creative in a totally different way. Because I find soccer creative, I find the coaching creative, but the writing the fantasy fiction book is just creative in a whole different way. So it's fun. But yes, I do have books.
Amazing. Well, after they're out, come back to the interview, let us know, post them here. Who knows? Right. Maybe we'll bring you and your dad on, talk about stuff. I got to ask, fantasy fiction. So are you, Star Wars fan, Star Trek fan? Are you any?
So the funny thing is I'm a huge fantasy fiction fan, but a bunch of the blockbusters that I have not seen. I have not seen Star Trek. I have not seen Star Wars. I have not read Lord of the Rings. I love Harry Potter. Okay. I've dressed up as Harry Potter. And if for people that love Harry Potter, my brother has been Dobby and the Mandrake. He's won a costume contest for it. So that's awesome.
Amazing.
But I've also dressed up as Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians in the Netflix movie. And also I have dressed up as Fitzvacker from my favorite book series, Keeper of the Lost Cities, about elves. I love elves. I think they're so magical.
Well, you are. It's like you're reminding us to return to what is beautiful about childhood, the essence of just that wonderment and joy in life. Thank you for being here, Jack. This is a real treat to have you today.
Yeah, I'm super glad to be able to come here and talk to you. And I had a fantastic time. So thank you.
Awesome. My pleasure. If you've been listening to or watching Empower Network TV live or on the one of the social media accounts, you've listened to Jack Murray tell us and inspire us and tease us with his new book coming out and with his show that I'm going to have to go check out. Thanks, Jack Murray, for being here. Thanks to your parents, too, for helping raise such a stellar young lad. Looking forward to seeing you rise in the Premier Soccer, all this amazing stuff in Europe. So maybe we'll see your name one day on the billboards.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, Jack. Thanks so much for today. Chat
Yes,
soon.
thank you so much. Bye.